Hello, boils and ghouls. RF Blackstone here with another episode of Behind the Keyboard. Today, my guest is Ryder Kinlay. She's the author of Rehab. Enjoy. Ryder, thank you so much for coming on. It's a great pleasure to actually speak to you in person. Well, digital person.
G'day, how you going?
End of the day, it's been a pretty laid back, easy Sunday here. How about yourself?
It's been like usual in Darwin, hot and muggy. It's always hot and muggy. Sometimes it's dry, sometimes it's raining, but it's always hot.
I've never been there, and it's one of the few places in Australia I'm kind of like, about going to.
Oh, well, I'm up here, so you'll have to come and visit one day.
True, it's a good excuse. It's a good excuse to go there.
You can come and see some real crocs.
Ooh, yeah. That actually, yeah. You've just convinced me. So you've got one book out at the moment, Rehab, and I'm halfway through it. Since the last time we spoke, I'm now halfway through it.
Oh, okay, cool. You're getting up to some of the good stuff now.
Yep. Oh, yeah. There's a very, very intense feeling of dread and fucked upness about to hit. So I'm really, the moment I get there, I'll let you know.
Funny that you say that. A lot of people tell me that a few people told me that they cried.
Oh, okay. Okay. I wonder if that's going to happen to me.
I don't think you will, but a couple of people have got so emotionally wrapped up into some of the characters I wrote that they cried. Yeah.
I can see that. I can see that because I've read a lot of extreme horror, and yeah, from everything I've gathered from speaking to you and kind of skim reading certain reviews because I don't want spoilers before I read it. It is firmly in extreme in the genre. So the thing I've noticed is, and I'm guilty of this with the characters I've written in extreme horror stories, they're a little sometimes one-dimensional.
Yeah.
And from what I've gathered and what I've read so far with Rehab and with your stuff, that's not the case. The characters are really, proper people that obviously they're going to go through hell.
Yeah, well, I didn't realize I was doing that, but because I'm pretty green with writing novels and talking about character arcs and character development and all that stuff that people like go, and I go, yeah, and like they go, oh, you did such a great arc and such a great development. I'm like, oh yeah. But yeah, I guess because they were inspired by real people, that gave me a bit more insight. And there was a little bit of me in some of the characters as well. Like not all the characters, God help me, but there was but even some of those characters were definitely inspired by people that I've met. So it gave me I didn't really have to write down a character arc or sort of plot out their development because I kind of knew the people as they were anyway. So I was very fortunate in that, and it paid off because that's what people have really enjoyed, is that it is an extreme horror. Well, it's a book that has extreme parts and has but it's got a real character development, and people have either really loved some of the characters or really hated some of the characters or loved to hate some of the other characters. So yeah.
Okay, so you've really done a just slice of life and then exaggerated some of the more horrible things that happen.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, that doesn't really happen in Rehab. I mean, a lot of the day-to-day stuff, a lot of the mundane stuff that I did put in there, but I try to not dwell on because that doesn't really make good reading and it's not really a great book. But I mean, Rehab is all about work, no play. You get alienated from people. You latch on to other people within the rehab because it's such a weird feeling because you've been isolated, and then like a small thing seems like a major thing, even for an intelligent person, even for a worldly person. When you're in that isolated artificial world, everything is magnified. love, emotions, hatred, everything. It's just all intense. And I mean, you can fall in love in there very easily, and then and you can hate someone with such passion. And then 3 months later, you walk down the street and you don't really give a shit about them. But when you're in the rehab, it's a completely different story.
Okay. Damn. Wow. It sounds a bit like being in, Wonderland. Like we just like this whole.
By the way, everyone, this is not real wine. This is non-alcoholic wine. Anyway.
I like the disclaimer.
Just have to clarify that.
Yeah, no, of course. So, I mean, there's a lot of great pieces of art, and I'm I feel like a wanker saying that, but there's a lot of like, certain people have gone into rehab and they've created something amazing for that experience. Like Alice Cooper did From the Inside after he went into rehab for his alcoholism. I mean, I gather that, well, you've actually been pretty forthright about the fact that you did rehab. So what made you, sorry, that's the family dog. What made you want to write Rehab?
Well, it was funny because I'm an ex-journalist. So I've written since I was like 2 or 3 years old. Now, I never realized how different it is to write a book than it is to write an article. Like it's very easy for me to whip up something and make it look good, but to try and transport you to a place and tell a story, well, that's a whole new ballgame that it took me 12 months to sort of kind of learn that. And what made me want to write Rehab? Well, I don't know. I was unemployed for a while there. I was drinking too much again, and I was going in and out of detox, and I wasn't really doing much with my life. I was like really, and when I was working as a journalist and when I was working as a PR person, writing was a chore for me. I did not like writing because even though I'm good at it, I did not like it because it was what I was paid to do. I was there to write articles, or I was there to spin doctor for politicians, and it just became something. It's kind of like a chef, don't really want to cook when you get home. It's the last thing you really want to do. So anyway, I kind of got the idea from I was on Facebook all the time, and I met a couple of author friends just through some groups, and I kind of went, well, I could do that. Like, I'm sure I could do that. And then I thought, well, what could I write about? And I had this idea ages ago about something completely different, which I may write a book about one day. But I started trying to write that. And what's happened here? Hang on.
I can still.
Oh no! Something came up on my screen. Oh, okay. Sorry. So and the story, my rehab story, was going to be completely different. It was going to be pretty much like a memoir of sorts. It was going to be just. And then I was going to put a dramatic scene of someone committing suicide or something. And there's been movies done like that, and some very good movies. I saw a movie the other day. I can't remember what it's called, but it was a very memoir. He had marketed it as a memoir, but apparently it wasn't. It turned out, but that's what Rehab was going to originally be like. And but then I started reading some extreme horror, and then I was like kind of going, no, if we're going to do something, let's juice this up, and let's inspire it, be inspired by your own what happened to me, but let's just go wild with this, and the story told itself. Once I started writing, the characters, I'm sure you get this, and I'm sure other authors have said the same thing, but the characters wanted to tell a different story to what I actually originally had planned.
Oh yes.
Summer decided that she wanted to tell you something completely different, and Samson and Kate were like going, well, we want to do this, and Robbie was just like coming out from all parts and just like going, no, this is how we're going to tell the story. So yeah, so that's how I came up with Rehab.
Okay. And you said it took you about 12 months to write it. So I know, like, when we've spoken before, you said that you just pants the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, I don't think my next book will take nearly as long, because it took 12 months because I was learning a whole new way of writing. I didn't even know how to format things. I didn't even like I and I had lost the desire for reading, so my writing was very stale. Like I think I've got like about 50 drafts of Rehab,
Oh,
which I'm
wow.
not going to repeat with the next lot of books. But that was just because at first my writing was really stale. It had no color, it had no show, it was all tell, and it was it was kind of like reading a diary, an interesting one, but like it was pretty damn boring,
Mm.
really. And then a couple of minor characters popped in my head, which I thought, oh yeah, like Chopper. And I'm like, going, that would be a really, really cool character, and like that would make a great spin-off book. Like, let's put something in about Chopper. So, it was, if you one day, if I'm ever rich and famous, I am going to release the first draft of Rehab, just to show people that you can evolve and you can do things. And this is how shit Rehab was when I first wrote it. And I'm a good writer. Oh, well, not a good writer, but like I'm a talented writer because I'm a journalist. And so words are a part of my arsenal.
Hmm.
But yeah, like it took 12 months, but I would imagine that my next book, if I really concentrate on it, it'll probably take me 3 to 6.
Well, that's not too bad. And I mean,
Mm.
are you a slow writer or a fast writer?
I can be a fast writer, but I slow down a lot because I am pretty fastidious, and like I tend to edit as I go,
Ah,
and then that slows me down, and
right.
then I'll stall, and like, so what I've been trying to do this time is just write. And if there's a place that I want to, that I'm not really 100% sure, I'll just jot down a couple of points and then just keep on writing and just keep on writing and keep on writing. So I would say that I'm a fairly fast writer, but I do stall,
Hmm.
and I start going and editing, and then I'll start playing around on Facebook, and then I'll start doing this, and then but if I lock myself away in my office,
Hmm.
and I can pump out 10,000 words a day,
Okay.
5,000, 10,000 words a day.
That's pretty damn good. I once tried 10,000 words, and one day I hit it, and afterwards I was just like, nah, I'm not writing for about 2 days. It drained me completely.
Well, I mean, that's a bit of an exaggeration. I did hit 10,000 words one day, but really I average between 2 to 5,000 words if I'm just sitting down and I'm like really concentrating and I'm just writing. So I'll average between 2 to 5.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, for like 60,000 word novel, if you can do, 2,000 to 5,000 Monday to Friday, you can get through it pretty fast.
Mm. Yeah, and I mean, now that I've kind of worked out what I want to do with To Goose, my next book, I imagine when I sit down and concentrate on it in like maybe 2 or 3 weeks' time, I will probably whack it out. Well, get the first draft
Hmm.
ready, within a month,
Yeah.
I would say.
Okay, so then, yeah, you do the first draft of a month, and then the next couple of months will probably be more tightening it up, going through betas.
Well, no, I think it'll be tightening it up, but it'll also be what I did with Rehab, which I go back and I juice it up. I'll get the scenes where I want to make the most impact, and then and Jasper Bark he's a good author friend of mine. He's a mentor of mine, and he was showing me how to do the show and tell, and so I'll go back and I'll strip a scene right back, and then I'll just juice it right up, almost line by line, to get the color and the atmosphere and the feel that I want in that scene.
That's a good way. That's a good way of doing it. And I mean, I've read Jasper's work, and he paints a really great picture.
Can we swear on this? He's fucking brilliant.
Yeah,
he's fucking brilliant. Like, seriously, good, because I am a swearer. His grasp of English, of the English language, is amazing. He's so intelligent, and he's just a brilliant storyteller, and a nice bloke. And yeah, Jasper, you can pay me later. That's cool.
This particular episode of Behind the Keyboard is brought to you by Jasper Bark.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Okay, so you spend all this time on Rehab, and then what did you do after that? So you got it to a point where you're like, okay, I think this is good to go, and you're talking to Jasper Bark. You're basically just saying to the world, hey, I'm here, I'm writing a book. What happens after that for you? You've done your 12 months, and then what?
So after I've published it, or
okay, so you've spent your 12 months working on Rehab.
Yeah.
So during that period of time, you're juicing it up. You're going through all your editing.
I was having a mini nervous breakdown for the last month of before I published Rehab, because one of my beta readers came up with a massive plot hole.
Oh,
massive plot hole. And basically I was like, had to rewrite and also I discovered that I basically had told everybody who the killer was halfway through it. So, there was why read the second half? It was it was pretty. So I basically rewrote the second half of the book completely again, which took me another month and a half. And then I was having a nervous breakdown, because then I had it edited, and the editing was good, but I just didn't feel that it really suited my story. So I got another editor to look at it. And both editors are very, very good. It's just that the style wasn't really for Rehab. So I got another editor to look at it, and I was just having a nervous breakdown, because I think every author, especially with their debut, gets that, oh my God, I'm sure there's something else that I haven't done. Oh my God, what about this? Or and I was seriously having a meltdown, and I just didn't want to put it out, because I thought, if I put this out, everyone's going to think it sucks. No one's going to like it. They're gonna say, oh, she reckons she can write extreme horror, because I thought it was really, really bland. I didn't think it was brutal at all. And so I was having a nervous breakdown, thinking that I was just not going to be able to play with the big boys, and everyone was going to laugh at me.
And it's been the complete opposite, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, that has taken me by surprise, a pleasant surprise, but I'm very humble, and but I'm very, very surprised by that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, we're friends on Facebook, and anytime I see you post someone's written this awesome review for it, your reaction is very much like, my reaction every time someone gives me a good review, which is like, my work, you like what I did?
No,
no,
no.
it can't be mine.
It's kind of surreal. The first, especially when you're a debut novelist, and when the first lot of reviews come in, and then when people start talking about you on Facebook,
Yep.
and like you're not getting tagged because these people don't even know you, and they're talking about you, and like you're like going through a books of horror like Facebook thread, and then suddenly there's your name, and like you go, and there's your book, and like you go, oh, someone that I don't know has actually read this book. Oh my goodness, and they liked it. Wow, like it's so surreal.
In the best way possible.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Oh yeah, and I mean, what? Okay, let me put it like this, because a lot of authors I know, especially nowadays, they do what you did, which is self-publish. I did the opposite. I got a publisher to do my first book. So this is something I've asked a couple of other
Lucky
authors.
you.
Yeah, honestly, because I picked it up, read the first chapter, and just went, why did they agree to publish this? It was that sort of moment. But I've asked a couple of other authors this question, and I'm curious because you've only got one book out. You're still you're still new to all this. What made you go, okay, I'm going to self-publish, as opposed to trying to get, say, Deadlight Press or Grindhouse Press, who specialize in extreme horror novels? What made you decide to just self-publish it instead?
Bit of laziness, really. A bit of self-doubt. And also, I see other authors such as Carver Pike and Matt Shaw who self-publish. And then I also look at the royalties and things like that. And, it would be amazing to have a traditional publisher. It would be great, because then I wouldn't have to worry about the business side of things. Then I wouldn't have to worry about, forking out money for a cover and all those sort of things that you have to do as self-publishing. But what I do like about self-publishing is that you've got more control.
Yep.
Like the cover that I decide on is what I decide upon. Like if I don't like what my designer comes back to me, I'll say, no, go back and do something else, please, because I don't like it. If I don't necessarily like all the changes that the editor has done, I won't accept them. You've got more control. But then there's also the onus is on me. It's all, I am the business. It is all on me. Like if I stuff up or, or whatever, then it comes back to me. You shoulder it yourself. But then, hey, there's lots of people who do it. And I mean, it would be brilliant if I could get a good publisher, but who likes my work and all the rest. I mean, obviously I'm open to that. But at the moment, I just find that self-publishing works, and yeah, I was lazy. I was lazy, and now I'm like going, well, I've done it. I now know how to do it, and I might I'll probably sub for some anthos later when I feel a bit more settled. But at the moment, I'm just working on my shorts and my own novels.
Okay, and I mean, Rehab is on Godless, and I mean, Godless seems to be the safe haven for not just horror in general, but specifically more extreme horror. Did you approach them, or did they approach you for a Rehab?
I can't remember how Drew and I got. Because I put my hand up. I'm part of the Godless Horde, so I'm there to help promote Godless and the authors on Godless, and it as an independent horror platform where you can go to get good horror books that sometimes won't see the light on Amazon.
Yep.
So I've got a good relationship with Drew, and Drew, who's the owner, and he really, really supported me and helped me by premiering Rehab when it came out, and also profiling me as an emerging author. So he used his own PR machine to sort of give me that push for a week or two, which really, I can't thank him enough, which really, really helped me. But I am also part of his group that, like, I work for him in some ways. Like, you know, I push his stuff, but then I only push the stuff that I actually really like. I don't push everything on Godless. I push Godless as a platform to everybody, but I push the books that I like, and I'll push them as hard as I can using my platforms. So Drew came, like, I think we'd sort of like gotten to know each other over Facebook, you know, and I became part of the Godless Horde, and then I said, oh, by the way, I'm working on a book. And he said, because I think I'd been working on it for about 11 months then, and I was at that point where I was almost ready to publish it. And he was the one who actually pretty much gave me the push. He said, well, are you ready? You're gonna publish it? Because I'll, like, you know. And so I went, oh, well, might as well jump and let's do it now. And I thank Drew for giving me that little shove at the end, and also profiling me and supporting me.
But that's something I've noticed. If someone doesn't shove you to hit the publish button, or you don't have it on, say, we call it pre-order on Amazon, where you know you've got a deadline, most people will just constantly sit on it, and they'll play with it, and they'll try to get it, you know, as perfect as possible.
Yeah.
So, you know, like hearing that, you know, you had Drew going, hit the button, do it now. that must have taken some pressure off you.
Well, I mean, I guess in some ways, yeah, I was just very, very lucky. I mean, I was lucky to meet Drew just as it was getting popular. And I mean, he's getting slammed left, right, and center, and it's great. It's really great because he's built such a great platform for us independent horror authors of all genres as well. Like, it's not just extreme horror, like there's all genres. Like, there's bizarro, there's, like, you know, there's gothic, there's all sorts of horror on there. So I was very, very fortunate to be part of the Godless Horde, and to be there at the right time, you know, like just when he was really launching it in, and I'm sure it's going to go into the stratosphere and become the next Amazon at the rate Drew, with his energy and his gusto and creativity. You know, Amazon, watch out.
It's probably, because I've got my stuff on Godless as well, and it is that sort of thing. You know, I go check it out and see what's you know, I'll try that again. Seeing what, you know, the new releases and all that, and it looks like he wants to. It is going to become the Amazon version of the horror version of Amazon.
And you know, once and I'm sure it's in the long-term plan, but once he starts publishing actual paperbacks and things, that platform is going to go through the roof. He's got such creativity, Drew, and he's got such drive, and he just really is the man. And he's very supportive of people, and he's such a lovely guy. And all he wants to do is he just wants to create a good, solid platform for us independent authors and for readers, so they can just like go and just like get, you know, he's always doing something, and he's always pushing somebody and pushing something and pushing the boundaries to make it good
Yeah.
for both authors and readers.
Oh yeah, definitely. And do you think you would like if push came, let me try that again. If push comes to shove and Amazon starts, really cracking down on content and all that sort of stuff, I mean, would you have any problems just saying to Drew, look, it's not on Amazon, it's 100% on Godless, and that's it?
Yeah. I'm even looking at doing a couple of exclusives anyway with Drew, but I mean, I'd like to keep the main books on Amazon, but I'm not going to be the next Stephen King, and like it. I mean, well, I'd love to, but at the end of the day, as long as my books are getting read, and as long as then there's no qualms in me just exclusively publishing on Godless if Drew has me, but. I mean, the thing is that in the real world, in the big world right this moment, Amazon is still where most people get their books. And Amazon is also has the paperbacks and the hardcovers and things like that.
Yep.
Whereas at the moment, it's only digital with Drew. It's only audio and e-copies.
Yeah, yeah. Which is a good place to start. And I mean, more and more, like, for example, when I moved to Mexico, I couldn't take all my books, so I had to go digital. Coming back to Australia, it was that same thing. I had, I brought some books with me, and the rest I can't. Okay, I'll get the digital version, and then I gave them to friends who, still in Mexico. So it is that sort of thing. In certain regards, it's actually easier to handle. Especially if you've got like a 200 book collection. You're traveling, you're kind of screwed there.
Well, I'll let you in on a little secret. I only started digital stuff like middle of last year, end of last year.
Oh, okay.
I got my first Kindle beginning of this year, actually it was. So I've been reading digital stuff only for about 6 months. And I only did it because I wanted to start reading some of the independent authors like Carver and Jasper and all the rest that I wasn't able to get my hands on. So I finally got digital, and now I don't think I've bought like a hard copy for a while, but like I prefer hard copies, but like with all the things that I review and read and all the rest, everything's on my phone or on my Kindle.
Yeah. And I've got an iPad and I've got the Kindle app on that, and it's it's so easy to load things up onto there, but there is something about a paperback holding it, having the physical thing. There is something about that you can never replicate with digital.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I still like my paperbacks. I think we all do. I mean, I when I'm laying on a beach, I'd prefer a paperback than holding my phone. So
well, it's that old Stan Lee quote. Like before he died, they asked him about does he think digital comics would take over? And he said, "Oh, they're like boobs. They look great on the screen, but it doesn't beat holding it."
Yeah, no. Yeah.
There's just nothing to say to that, is there?
Not really.
I just had one of those moments where I just went, "Oh hell, did I say that?"
Yeah, you did.
Oh well, live and unscripted. So something that comes up a lot, and like you said it yourself, you're part of the Godless crew. You're books of horror, the horror community. How important has that been for you in regards to helping you learn and just connect with people? Like I know that you said that Jasper, you've mentioned Carver Pug a couple of times, Drew. Is that a big part of it for you as well?
Well, I mean, if you want me to name drop some more authors that have been really helpful to me, no, but I mean, I would have to mention yourself and people like Denise Doyle, who and Justin Boot and Lee Franklin and Eric Butler. Simon McCarty, all of them have been so very, very supportive of me. Like Denise is she beat a red and helped me with rehabbing some parts in like a small part. She helped me sort of because Jasper was busy. But you know, Candice Nola has also been very supportive of me. She did my final edit of Rehab.
Wow.
Eric Butler has been he's going to be a beta reader for Tagoose. You know, I've been super, super lucky because I would say that I've got so much more support than the average debut novelist. And I think that's because I started networking with these people, and I started networking with all of them, and I got to know them as people, and wasn't asking them for anything at that stage. And I was actually probably giving them things by buying their stuff or by reading and reviewing. But like, you know, I don't think that's everything to do with it. Like you build friendships over Facebook. This is the way the world is these days. And I mean, I met you through Carver Pike when you're in Mexico. We were talking about some bloody strip peak bloody thing that Carver was writing about, and we're all talking about the fact that we speak Spanish and blah blah blah. You know, we like people can diss Facebook and people can diss Twitter, but really Twitter and Facebook and social media is like the way you can interact with your readers. It's the way you can interact with other authors. It's the way, and like, I'm sure, even though I'm not traditionally published, I know that a lot of traditional publishers do look at how much profile you've got and how much, you know, whether or not before they invest in you, because you know, you're an investment. So it's just so important. And these groups like the books of horror, you know, like they, with their support, I think Amazon probably sold out of Stolen Tongues, like the amount of people who bought Stolen Tongues as a result of books of horror, you know, because those groups are buying readers. Yeah, there's authors on them, and yeah, we plug our stuff, but people forget that authors are also readers.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so we're going to buy other people's stuff. We're going to read other people's stuff. But I've been really, really lucky. I feel really blessed. I've got like a lot of people behind me who are willing to like take a phone call from me or help me out on occasion, like if I'm stuck with something, be to read, whatever. And they've also, some of them, not mentioning any names like Jasper and Carver, have reviewed my book and read my book, you know. So but yeah, I'm very, very lucky. I'm very lucky.
Oh yeah. And I mean, you said that you got to know them as people first before, I don't want to say hitting them up, but before asking them for help. When it came, when you got the nerve, when you worked up the nerve to actually ask them for help, you know, did you think, you know, like in a million years, these guys who, you know, these guys and girls who write this amazing stuff, did you ever think they would actually take the time to help you? Or was it just one of those things of, you know, let's see what happens?
God, no. I mean, when I say Jasper mentored me, I mean, not taking away anything from him, but I mean, that was only like a handful of calls, a handful of phone calls. Like he's far too busy to read my stuff or to help me with that sort of stuff. But like, he has spoken to me over the phone and sort of like given me ideas and helped helped mentor me in that way. Same with Carver, in the sense, like, I haven't spoken to him, but, like, he's often been very, very supportive of me. And Simon McHardy is just agreed to being a beta reader for Bloody Moon, my next short.
Nice.
And that's great, because he's got such a following, and he's a godless staple, and he'll know if his readers will like that sort of stuff. And so the only people that I really kind of approached when I was in rehab to actually sort of help with, like, really help me, was Jasper, but that was through phone calls, and Denise, and Justin. And Justin is my admin in one of my groups. And I'm beta reading for him now. I don't know when I'm going to be able to review anyone that's books with all these books that I'm meant to be beta reading. But at the end of the day, Justin and Denise really, really were there for me before rehab, and now there's a few people since rehab, which is great. And that's and now I'm able to also give back to everybody else as well, because now that I'm an established author, and people listen to me, I'm able to sort of like beta read and promote them, and I've got a little bit more credibility, I guess, in the industry than I did, say, 6 to 12 months ago.
Yeah. And okay, this could be a strange question.
Yeah.
But that credibility, I mean, has that affected you in any way? Like when you get those reviews, or you get these other authors who you admire and they're talking about your work, do you ever kind of sit there and you get a bit of a big head, or do you think, oh, they're all talking about me, I'm I can ask for things and I don't have to give back? Has anything like that happened?
No, not really, because I guess in some ways, up until I just wrote Bloody Moon, actually, which I've shot through to you.
Yep.
But I was starting to have imposter syndrome.
Uh-huh.
And I still feel a bit like I've got imposter syndrome, but like with Bloody Moon, it's only a short, and it's an extreme erotica horror. It's something. But I was kind of like getting imposter syndrome, as well as the fact that, like, I don't see myself, I still see myself as a new kid on the block. And I get really surprised when people are coming to me, asking me for advice, asking me, well, what did you do? How come you're selling 1 to 5 books a day? Like, what did you do? And I'm like going, oh, well, all I can say is network, and then come up with something good. I don't know,
you make it sound so easy.
I don't know, maybe my Google, my grandfather's looking down on me, and he did tell me once when I was in a alcohol, like I was apparently, they were, if I hadn't been found, I had a week left in me. I was hospitalized for 10 days, and I had this dream. Oh, well, not a dream, it was a vision of some sort before I was found. And I saw my grandfather, who's dead, my beloved grandfather, and he told me, no, go back. There's something big waiting for you. So maybe it's him.
Could be. It could very. I'm not. Could very well be. And I mean, we all get where we have to go. Eventually we get where we need to be. So this could be really it. And we all suffer from imposter syndrome.
I'm sure.
Seriously. I mean, why do you think that? Why do you think it is, especially with horror authors, especially with indie authors? I'm pretty sure Stephen King has these moments too. But why do you think for us it is that sort of, especially when you're first starting out, why do you think we have that thing of, maybe someone's going to realize I don't belong here?
I don't know, because all I know is that I reread Rehab. I've reread Rehab twice now since it's been published. And I picked up a couple of little mistakes. Yeah, that's fine. And like, I'll get them fixed sooner or later. Like, I'll draw it and I'll put it out.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I'm very happy with it for a debut novel without a traditional publisher backing it. I think it stands up with the rest of them. But I reread it and I'm like, hey, did I write that? I don't know. Nah. What? Nah. But I honestly I read it about 2 months ago. Oh no, it can't be that long ago because I only released it 2 months ago. But I read it about a month ago, and I'm just like going, no, that's not me. No, but like it is. And so yeah, I don't know about this whole imposter syndrome, but like it's alive and well.
Well, that makes okay. I mean, I've got for example, like I've got, what was it, 5 books out, and I've got 2 I owe my publisher, and I'm still, thinking, I'm still expecting the day I get the email from them saying, "No, sorry, mate. No, we just realized you don't belong here. You're not a real author. Piss off." I'm still waiting for that.
Yeah, well, I guess you've got more. Not that you are not a real author, but I guess you've got more. But you've got the more weight on. I mean, being self-published, I've got the luxury where I can write when I want to write, and I can release a book when I want to release a book. I don't have any commitments or any pressure. So,
well, yeah, and luckily my publisher, Sevid Press, they do creature features books, the fun stuff. They're based in Tasmania, and for them, it's a case of you sign the contract, you give the book to them when you give the book to them. There's no deadlines, which is great because it takes all this pressure off. But it's shockingly horrible if you're like me and I need deadlines.
I am a very deadline-driven person because being an ex-journalist.
Yeah.
But trying to impose deadlines on myself is a completely different ball game. So I would work well with a publisher if they gave me deadlines because that's what I'm used to.
Yeah.
But when I have to impose them on myself, well, I'm like everyone. I'm the queen of procrastination, watching Netflix, getting on Facebook, reading a book that I need to review or that I want to review, and playing with Jessie. Cleaning the house for the umpteenth time, even though I don't clean houses. It's like
everything under the sun. Yeah, it's everything under the sun except the actual work.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think that's something. I think that's for unless you're doing it 100% full time and you're making your living comes from your writing. I think if you're not in that point, it is that case of I'll get to it eventually.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would love to be at that point where, and I do have a time frame and goals in place of where I would like, ideally, if I could, to just be a full-time author, and be a bit of a traveling nomad in a caravan with my dog and my cat, driving around Australia.
That sounds like that's the dream. See, I'm
Yeah.
there for everything except the caravan. I just want the ocean view.
Well, see, I'm kind of thinking that I wouldn't mind going in like not like a super duper expensive one, but a nice enough one where I can just grab my dog, grab my cat, and just not be tied down to anywhere, and go to places like down the track in the Northern Territory
Hmm.
where I can and stay there for a couple of weeks whilst I write a book about crocodiles, or like I'm kind of wanting to go down and hire out a cabin sometime next year and write my crocodile story where it's there, so I can just kind of like really, and just get away from everything. Like that's kind of like my dream, and so I'm expanding on that for and getting a caravan, and I'll probably stay on the beach, like in
Yeah.
coastal areas, um but yeah, I'd love to be just a traveling nomad and writing full time.
I think we all, like anyone who does write, and they do publish, whether it's traditional self or a hybrid author, it's that sort of thing. They have that thing. Yeah, I want to do this full time, and either travel around the country, travel around the world, whatever. I think that's always like some form of end game for everyone who does this.
Mm. But I guess the problem when when you are writing full time is managing your time so you actually do write.
Yeah.
Because like when you're working, I in like say with me, I work in retail. When you're working, you have to manage time to be able to write. So you have to be really dedicated, and like you really have to really want to write to do it. But you only have so many hours, or only so many days a week to be able to do that, because then you have to go out and earn money
Mhm.
to live in your real job. I guess the problem people face, such as yourself, who is doing it at the moment, is that you have to like be really dedicated, because that procrastination, that those Netflix films, those computer games, those whatever, like
Oh yeah.
will can be all consuming. Like before you know it, 8 hours are gone. Like and you haven't done any writing. So yeah.
Yeah, well, see, for me, it's a case of here. We've got the dog, and that's a Italian Mastiff puppy who's about, he's
Oh,
10 months old, 50 odd kilos. That's a lot of
no.
dog for a puppy when he wants attention, and he's the cutest
Yeah,
thing ever. So that's like really hard not to get
yeah,
distracted by. And also every couple of days, my little sister brings her baby over, who I'm getting to know and connect, and that's cute as well. So it's like, okay, those are some big distractions. The thing that keeps me focused, apart from having alarms and things on my phone that go off and notifications, is this. If I don't do this and I don't make it work, I've got to go back to retail. That's that's what keeps me.
yeah.
It's
Well,
it's actually using the idea of having a day job. That's what keeps me button seat and
mm,
go.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, well, I mean, there's pros and cons to both.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, definitely, definitely. I think. I mean, for example, this is the first weekend I've taken off from not said, okay, I'm not riding at all over this weekend, and it's weird.
Yeah,
It's one of those things. It's like, okay, what to do?
I always sometimes get scared that like I'll forget how to write.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh, but I understand that fear completely because.
You kind of like go, well, I know when I was in rehab for 6 months, I didn't write.
Hmm.
I didn't write. The funny thing is that I didn't write in my journal either when I was in rehab, because you're meant to keep a journal,
Hmm.
and I refused. And they would like say to me, "Well, why? Because this is your way. You can write." And I'm like, no, because you're reading it, and like it was like, and it's personal stuff. Like, so they said, well, write anything. I said, no, I'm not going to give you anything to read. Like, sorry, like, yeah, I used to get myself into trouble at rehab quite a lot because I guess I was a bit too smart for my own good at times.
It makes sense though. I mean, if you like if they are going to read it, that does make sense to say no to writing the personal stuff. And then just say, them say, well, write whatever you want, and you still saying no. That's just badass.
Well, sometimes I'd write something or I'd write something that I wanted them to know, because I knew that they read it. So like, I'm like going, I don't like this person, don't like this person, don't like this person. Oh, by the way, this person's doing this, because like I thought, well, I'm not going to snitch, but I know they're going to read it.
Yep. That makes perfect sense. So
I did that rarely, by the way, because I'm not a snitch.
Well, how long were you a journalist for? Because that sort of training, you don't give up sources with that job.
I'm a university trained journalist, so I did journalism all through, like, from about 15 till, because I did work experience and like I volunteered at summer jobs. So 15 till about 25.
Okay. So yeah, and with that particular kind of job, you don't give up sources, you don't snitch on those who help you out. No. So it would be doing for about 10 years. Yeah, that sort of thing does get built in to you. Plus, also nobody likes a snitch.
Yeah, well, it really gets inbuilt into, drilled into you when you're in rehab. Like the criminal code, like the code between thieves or whatever, like you do not snitch.
Yeah,
you do not snitch if you don't want to get your head beaten in, or like or otherwise they'll snitch you back and you won't like it, because they'll make your life living hell. They really will.
Oh yeah. Some of the horror stories.
So you learn quickly.
Yeah.
You learn very, very quickly. Do not snitch.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can believe that from some of the horror stories I've heard from people working in the system here in Australia, and also what I've heard and read about in the Mexican prisons. Oh yeah, yeah. Definitely one of those things is better.
You don't want to be a snitch.
Yeah.
You don't want to be a snitch.
So okay, so you from what you've said during our chat, and also when we've spoken previously to this, you are firmly in the you seem to be really drawn to extreme horror, or as you call it, taboo horror. What is it about that subgenre that just gets your attention?
I don't know if I like all sorts of horror, but I don't like slow burns. Like, as much as I love Stephen King, I like things that are in my face quick. I like short, brutal things that are in my face. Like, I love Rain Havoc sort of stuff, like where it's just like, it's 20 pages of fucking mayhem, and you're just like going, what the fuck? Like, I feel sorry for her husband, like, because, like, but I'm really big into that. I mean, I love Stephen King. I mean, Uncle Stevie, everyone loves him, but I do find that I can't read a lot of these books these days if they are too long, because I just don't get into it. Like, I need it quick. I need to be able to consume it quickly. I don't want to, like, get to know what the great grandmother was wearing on this day or whatever, and that's what I love about Richard Lehman. And Richard Lehman, I mean, he wrote for his time. He's got a lot of rapes and, like, a lot of he concentrates a lot on boobs and asses and things like that. But at the end of the day, sex sells. and people do. And he's describing the characters and you know, rape isn't really even extreme horror these days when
Yeah.
it comes to books. It's kind of pretty tame, really, because and also it happens in real life, so it's not really anything that I mean, it's really hard for me because I haven't read as much as a lot of people, and so I'm still really exploring and reading new authors
Mm-hmm.
and reading new extreme stuff that Godless has opened me up to, and you know, reading stuff like this the sick stuff that Rain and Simon come up with. It's just like I just like go, what the fuck? Like seriously, I feel, and I'm still building myself up to reading his Mother Maggot. Like I've heard so many sick stories about it, and like I'm just like going, oh, am I ready for this? Really? But why extreme horror appeals to me is that it gets me thinking. I like to be challenged. And I like, you know, I don't want to be numbed by reading something. I want to be shocked. I want to be like, oh, I want to go, oh, I don't know about that. I want to think about things, you know. I don't like, depending on the author and depending on how it is, I don't like gore just for gore's sake. I do like a good story. Like, you know, like, yeah, if you're going to throw some gore in, awesome. But, like, I want a good story first as well. And, you know, and as I said, I like short and brutal things, something that I can consume really fast, something that I can read in one sitting. I don't want, you know, to spend a month trying to wade through 1,000 pages about some pandemic that happened and there's an apocalypse of some sort. Not talking about any book in particular. But,
well, I mean, just look out the window. It's happening right now in real life. Come on.
yeah, no, well, I mean, no, Stephen King will always be the man, and I have got every single one of his books and I do idolize him. But I just I can't read, like there's a lot of his books that like I have put in the did not finish pile.
I get that completely. I'm very much, for me, Stephen King is extremely hit or miss. I mean, I like his short stories. I think they're great. I read It all the way through, and that's been the only book of his I've read all the way through. I've not touched anything else, and it's one of those things. Only recently, and this is the thing, I think some people are just going to be like shocked to know. I'm, you know, because talking with some authors, they kind of say, okay, one of the Bibles every horror author needs to read is his book on writing.
Oh, it's good. You know, I've got the audio, I've got the new version, and I've got the old version of that book.
I actually, about 2 weeks before I left Mexico, I got it, the new version.
Yep.
And
the one with the Joe Hill forward.
Yep, all that.
Yep.
And I got it, and I was like, okay, I'm going to read it when I'm in the hotel doing quarantine. Didn't, because I was working on an outline. And I thought, okay, I'm going to start reading it now. And I'm reading, going, okay, this is good. I'm enjoying this. There's some really good nuggets of wisdom, and I get why people are saying you have to read it. And there's a part that goes, oh, maybe give his books another go. And I'm just like, nah, screw that. I'm not going to do that.
I would be reading more of his books still if I didn't have so many independent horror authors that keep on releasing books and like and you know, I like their stuff. Like I like Simon McCarthy stuff. I love Jasper Bark stuff. I love Carver Pike stuff. I love their, you know, Rain Havoc stuff. I love all of their stuff. But so, you know, I've got so many books to catch up on. Like, I haven't read Jack Ketchum. I haven't read Stan Lee. I haven't, you know, Stan Lee, no, Edward.
Yeah.
But, you know, I haven't read any of those authors because I had been only a Stephen King reader, and I had been only a Richard Lehman reader, and now I haven't read a Stephen King book in I don't know how long. I mean, I'm still collecting his books, and I've got like a massive to be read pile of his books, but I'm reading all these other authors first now because it's kind of like yourself, I imagine, and a lot of other authors. You also want to read what else is in the industry that you're writing in.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, I try to read, I try to read stuff written by the people who are coming on, that way I've got to, I always do my research and try to read and everything. And sometimes what that means is, okay, I kind of like, someone releases a book and it's like, oh, I want to read that. Hang on, I got to do these interviews. Okay, I got to read their stuff first. And that book I really want to read gets pushed by the wayside. And then it becomes another case of, well, I'll get to it eventually. Yet all these new books come out, everyone talks about them, they get added to the list. And then it's a case of, well, because I'm writing full time, when do I have time to read as opposed to doing the work?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, I for a little while there, I stopped reading because I was too much in my editing mode. Like, I was editing Rehab, and I was in too much of an editing mode where I was like editing books, and like I wasn't, and like, I wasn't like reading them to enjoy them. I was reading them and analyzing them, like and also looking at it and going, oh, I could use that word there, and I wasn't really reading it to enjoy it. So I stopped reading there for a while, but now I'm back into like being able to read and enjoy, and not sort of like yeah. So yeah.
That's a good way of putting it. So I've got a bit better read it, and that's what I'm doing after when we finish today. I'm going to go read Bloody Moon, which is a great title.
Yes, of course. I wonder who came up with that.
Some bozo from Newcastle. So you've got that. What else are you like? You've mentioned To Goose, so that's going to be your next novel. Yeah.
Okay, so what I've got coming up, I've got 2 shorts coming up, pretty rapid release, pretty quickly within the next 6 weeks. So one, both about, well, Bloody Moon's just over 5,000 words, and so it's just an extreme short about a couple who go over to Thailand and explore Thailand. It's their last night on their honeymoon, and what could go wrong with that?
Absolutely nothing.
I did come up with a better. I need to read the thing, but so there's that, and then I've got another one coming up, and I've found the cover for it. It's going to be awesome. Called Cirque du Fetiche, which is Circus of Fetish.
Oh, that's a good title.
So that's going to be coming up. And then I've got another one called Mushka, which is about a rabid dog that goes hunting bats. It's my little twist of inspired by Cujo. And it's more actually for a running joke for my my Facebook group, actually, because everyone like teases me about hating bats. So I'm going to write a book about killing bats and this dog killing bats. It's just going to be a short. It's just going to be a little bit of fun. And then I've also got, and I found the cover for this. I went cover hunting for my shorts, because for my shorts I'm going to be doing my own covers, and I'm going to style them with the Ryder Kinlay in the red cursive.
Oh,
so that's
yeah.
going to be my branding for my shorts.
Oh, nice.
So I made that decision of that, and my novels are going to be done by my designer, and they're going to be not using stock images. They'll have all their original copyright, and they will be like, you know, spectacular. But my covers are going to be branded with the Ryder Kinlay in red cursive. So, and they'll be my shorts. And I've got one which is kind of a spin-off, but it's not long enough to be a book, but it's going to be a small spin-off from Rehab, completely spin-off, because it's going to be called Angel. And Angel is going to be Chopper's daughter.
Oh.
Now, if you've read the book, you know what happened to a certain person who messed with Chopper's daughter. And you know all about Chopper. So Angel, I'm going to just do a short story about Angel, but then that is going to just be a short, unrelated story to Rehab as such, because Rehab does have a couple of other books on in the future to tie in with it. One's going to be called Robbie, which is about Summer, the main character's son. It's going to be very Dr. Sleepish sort of way, but in my own style. But it'll be a bit of a Dr. Sleep. And also I'm looking at doing a collection. So a collection of stories of all the characters. So I'm looking at doing them as short stories and rapid releasing them, and then putting them together in one collection. So Angel will go in that collection in the end. But yeah, but okay. Robbie will not be a short story. Robbie will be a novel sequel. And then I've got does that make sense? Am I sort of making sense? Like,
yes, yes,
I'm going to have I'm going to have some short stories for Rehab that I'm going to be releasing individually, but then I'll release as a collection. And then I also have Robbie, which will actually be a novel, which will be related to Rehab.
For all the authors who are watching this, we'll understand what you said perfectly, because that's author speak. Now, for all the regular people who watch this, they're going to sit there going, "What the fuck?" we do speak a different language.
Yeah, guys, all I'm saying is that there's a lot of books that are coming out soon, and I am releasing I'm looking at releasing a couple of shorts every 2 months. Every 2 months, I'm looking at releasing a short of between 5,000 to 15,000 words, depending on how I feel for each one. And I'm looking at releasing my next novel to Goose in either later this year or early next year.
Okay, so there's a lot in the future for you.
I've got a lot of books and a lot of things. I've got a lot of stories to tell. I'm a journalist. I've come from the Territory. Come on, you know. The Northern Territory, is just a cesspool of weirdos, and
I would probably say that could just be the perfect description of Australia in general.
We're the Texas of Australia, the Northern Territory, I reckon.
Well, I know I have got some family members who went and did some work up there, and I know some friends who did work up there, and from what they've told me, I get that. I get that.
Seriously, some really sick shit happens up here.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When you hear about that sort of stuff, you can't go, really, in Australia? You know, most people in the rest of the world don't expect sick shit to happen here. That was hard
Well,
to say.
only in the territory, only in the territory. And I mean, I'm not going to get political. This is just a story
Mm.
to show how ridiculous we are up here. But a couple of years ago, there was a leadership coup for our chief minister in the middle of the night when they were all drunk. They called a press conference at like about 11 o'clock at night, drunk as skunks, saying that we've taken we've taken over.
Yeah,
I mean,
yep,
like
yep.
seriously.
Yeah, okay, yeah, you've just cemented it. Northern Territory of Australia is definitely is Texas. Jeez,
It's just like
that's amazing.
like, and I mean, our newspaper, like seriously, every second day it has to have a crocodile story. And there was this one story, this was a few years ago, but there was this massive full-page photo on the front page of the NT News of this massive croc with its mouth open. And like it had like this big headline, 20-point headline saying, "Croc takes man," or something like that. And then there was one paragraph, "Croc takes man at Mary River, blah, blah, blah." And then you open it up to the story continued, page 5. Open it up and there's a little strip. This happened like 20 years ago. Like it's like we just, we live, breathe crocs, cyclones, beer, and drunken stupidity.
It's rife for a good story, and I mean that was something I was going to say. You seem to have published, and you're getting into it at the perfect moment, because this seems to be, in a way, the golden age of horror for Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah, awesome. Yay.
You got Lee Murray and I can never pronounce her name right. They won the Bram Stoker Awards for Black Crane.
Genevieve.
Thank you. Yes, yeah. Thank you. It's her first name I have trouble pronouncing, and I've probably just killed any chance of getting her on the show now. But you got them. You got Alan Baxter, Aaron Dries. You got all these people. You got Cohesion Press down in Victoria putting out the Snafu anthologies. It seems to be it's now getting to the point of the world is kind of going, those crazy Australians and those Kiwis, they know how to write good horror.
Yeah. Well, and I feel remarkably blessed because I think I'm the only horror writer in the Northern Territory. We've got authors up here, but I don't know of any other horror ones up here. And if there is one and you're watching this, then shout, find me. I'm in Ludmilla. And I'd love to have a beer. Well, no, I don't drink. But, but the Northern Territory, we've just got such a rich history of crime and real life horror. It's just like, and so I'm really amazed that we don't, because every day here, something inspires me. Reading the newspaper, something inspires me. Someone will come up and tell me a story about a bloody ghost down at Humpty Doo Hotel, and I just think, well, Humpty Doo Hotel is just such a great name. Wouldn't people love that for a book, and talking about a ghost down at Humpty Doo?
It actually sounds like the title, of a short story collection, the Humpty Doo Hotel, and then every chapter is set in a room. Every short story is set in a room.
This is why I love talking to you. You're gonna keep on inspiring all these stories for me.
It's what I do. I'm very good at. I'm a very good ideas man when it comes to this sort of stuff. So yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing that you are so far, because that's the thing. So far, you're the only horror author. But when you make it Stephen King big, there'll be others who will crop up.
And they'll go, see, we're following that Kinlay, Kinlay person.
Exactly. Now,
because they won't know my real name.
Exactly. Hell, I don't know my real name. Oh, that was terrible, wasn't it?
I laugh.
Yeah, I wasn't sure there was a pity laugh. So
That was a pity laugh.
yeah, that's what I thought. All right, so I usually this is usually the final question I ask all my guests. Okay, so someone comes to you and says, "Ryder, I've been following your career, you know, Rehab to Goose, your Bloody Moon. They've inspired me. I want to become an author." What's the one piece of advice that you give them?
Okay, well, the thing is, first is read. Read a lot. Read. Because your writing does end up becoming better, and once you start reading and analyzing, and once you start writing your own book, you will start analyzing it, because you'll start seeing how authors actually do this show and tell thing, like, which is kind of jargon in the author industry, about transporting someone into a place, and rather than telling them what's happening, making them feel what's happening, and giving the reader an experience, rather than just shouting at them and saying, this happens, this happened, this happened, this happened. So when you start reading good authors, and read in your genre, because if you choose to write horror, you want to know what other people are writing. You might get inspired by their stuff, but never obviously rip them off, because just do fan fiction if you're going to do that. But there's nothing wrong with being inspired by a word or by a scene or something like that, and making it into your own, and making something completely different, and something all the rest, because that's just like movies, like there's not a lot of original stuff out there. Something's been inspired by somebody somewhere along the line, in whatever, and so read, network, and learn. Be humble, learn off other people. Don't think just because you're an award-winning journalist or whatever doesn't necessarily make you going to be an award-winning author. You could be a shit author. Like you never know. You know what I mean? Because there's a whole lot more to being author. There's the business side of things, as well as the writing side of things. So read, network, and just write, and also get a good crew behind you. Get some good beta readers. Get network to get some good editors. Don't scrimp on your editing. Save your money and get an editor, because you don't want to release something that people are going to tear to shreds and say this could have been written by a preschooler. It's really hard to come back from. So sort of invest in the money, and if it means that you have to wait for an extra month, hell, wait for an extra month, and just release the best thing that you can put out there, and believe in it.
That's good advice. That's good. You've been asked this question before, haven't you?
No, I've just had lots of people ask me what to do.
Makes sense.
But that's what I would suggest.
Okay. And where can the millions of people who are going to watch this episode, where can they find you?
On Facebook. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Twitter. You can find my books on godless.com, or you can find them on Amazon. And I also have a website that you can subscribe to. I don't send out anything at the moment, but I will soon. But that's ryderkinlay.com.
I'll put links to everything in the description. Right.
But yeah, so I'm pretty approachable. You can find me on Facebook. I'm always on Facebook, and there's only one Ryder Kinlay. It's not like I'm Tom Jones or Tom Smith or something. There's just one of me.
That's good. Makes you totally unique.
Yep.
Right.
That's the way I like it.
Yep. Well, we're all, those multiples of all of us, the world would be pretty boring or even more fucked up. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on, Ryder. This was great.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Have a nice day. See ya.
And once again, a very big thank you to Ryder Kinlay for coming on. You can find links to her works in the description below. I'm Mara of Blackstone. This is Behind the Keyboard, and as always, stay spooky.